Welcome, everyone, to the Over Under Movies podcast, where we take a prominent film or franchise in the world of filmmaking and ask the simple question, is it overrated or is it underrated? I'm joined, as always, by my co-host. He's bald like a war boy.
I'm the scrotus to your rectus.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't have time to prep a good one. But yeah, he's shiny and chrome. My good friend, DeAngelis.
How's it going?
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, late night. We got a late night pod coming here, guys. This is going to be a good one.
And today we're joined by a very special guest. He's a filmmaker and a friend. It's Dan Mosley.
Hello, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Finally on the pod, Dan.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while, but I'm glad I'm here with a war boy and a rectus.
Yeah. And we're glad to have you.
Yeah.
Dan actually is the one who gave us this sound mixer. So
It's a beauty.
Shout out to the sound mixer.
Yeah.
we just wouldn't have a podcast without him.
Yeah. I like enabling you guys, so it's good.
Yeah, this is all your fault.
Yeah. So Dan, tell us about yourself.
Well, I met Jason back when we did film together in college. Good times. But yeah, I've directed a couple short films over the years, done a lot of theater stuff, and generally a hater of movies. I'm trying not to be a hater as much as possible, but, that's all.
That's very interesting because I've seen like from people that get a look like behind the curtain into the filmmaking side of things, it tends to make people more like understanding of films. And, like, they tend to judge films easier because they know how hard it is.
Yeah. It's incredibly hard. And everyone that's a filmmaker does incredible work. But sometimes you just got to go, I didn't like that movie.
You got to lay down the law.
And I'm not spoiling. That's what I'm saying now. Just in general.
All right, what are we talking about here, Jason?
Well, today we have all just seen Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. The new film in the Mad Max franchise. So, Dan, yeah, you wanted to talk about this with us.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of our review episodes, so we're not going to say whether it's overrated or underrated because we're still waiting for those ratings to come in, but we're just going to talk about if we liked it. So, Dan, did you like it?
I think overall, I landed kind of mid on the movie. I think, for context, Mad Max Fury Road is the only other Mad Max movie I've seen, and it is maybe in my top 20 movies of all time. I love that movie a lot. I think cinematography, story, everything it does, amazing. This movie really leaned on that movie a lot, which makes sense. It's such a good movie, and there's a lot I liked about it, but there's also a lot that I didn't super like about it, was sort of what I came out thinking.
And we'll delve into that, but Dylan, what was your first impression?
Yeah, I'm in like a similar boat. I kind of came into this movie with two big questions. Number one would be, is he just going to do Fury Road over again? Because Fury Road is an incredible movie. So if you make an incredible movie, just make that movie again. And then my second question would be, okay, if it is Fury Road over again, is that okay? Is it fine that this guy just like decides to pigeonhole himself into the same world? Because Jason, you and I both watched like basically all the Mad Max films in like the last 2 weeks, and the first three films in the Mad Max franchise are all basically anthology stories. Max is a drifter, and he'll just show up to something that's happening out in the apocalypse world of the desert in Australia, and then that's the movie. And then usually at the end of the movie, Max leaves, and then he goes on to his next adventure. This is Miller's first attempt at trying to like build out an actual universe with the Mad Max franchise, where Furiosa is a direct prequel, and like slight spoilers, like the end of this movie is basically the beginning of Fury Road, so it's a direct tie-in to Fury Road. And interestingly enough, there's a ton of stuff that references elements from Fury Road that he's clearly like tying into it with. But just from like a general storytelling perspective, I think the movie's too long. Dan,
100%.
I hate long movies.
I hate long movies. That is, oh my God.
This movie's unnecessary.
Somebody had to say it. Yeah.
This movie, the movie's broken up into chapters, which is interesting, and it does feel like the movie has like 4 or 5 acts to it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's entire strings of this film that could be cut out and make it a lot better. And because of the length and the complexity of what they're trying to do here, where this is a Furiosa origin story, there's a lot of stuff going on in the movie, and I think that's what makes it a worse film than Fury Road, because Fury Road, people just say it's just a car chase. The whole movie is just a car chase where they're going in a straight line, they're stopping, and then the third act of the movie is them driving back.
Yeah.
And it's super easy to explain. This is not an easy movie to explain by comparison.
No.
I like this movie a lot. I agree that it's not as good as Fury Road. Fury Road's like a super tight movie, and it's really easy to say that it's a perfect movie. And then this movie, it shoots farther, so it's a lot easier for it to have imperfections. Yeah. But I did enjoy it. Like, the scope of it was so much bigger, but I think they accomplished like what they set out to do. They basically introduced all these factions in the world of Mad Max. And yeah, it's definitely the most world building that we've seen in a Mad Max film. But you guys are right that it leans really heavily on Fury Road, to the extent that the mid-credits sequence or scene is just a summary of Mad Max.
I was like, do they think we haven't seen the movie and that we need to watch it again? I thought it was really funny. I mean, inconsequential, but
it is funny. Dylan, did you see the like mid-credits?
There's a mid-credits scene. I didn't stick around.
It's just scenes from Fury Road.
He's like, yo, remember how fucking awesome
it's literally, I was like, oh, don't remind me about the better movie I didn't watch. Yeah, it was very funny.
I think it's like really ballsy for a sequel to like be like, yeah, and here's what we're setting up for the next thing, a 9-year-old film.
Yeah. I was like, this movie came out 9 years ago.
But yeah, so yeah, let's dive into it. Let's try our best to, I guess, summarize it without spoiling.
Okay.
So yeah, Dan, what would you say this is about?
I would say it's about Furiosa.
Nice.
If I had to break it down, I mean,
spoilers.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it definitely starts. You see Furiosa starts from being a young child. Okay. So she gets taken from the green place. So that's naturally where our story will start. And we sort of see her evolve. I would honestly say, like, while we're following Furiosa, I think there's a much higher emphasis on the world building in this movie over Fury Road. Like, Fury Road, the world that sets up is sort of like the backdrop, but this, they really push it to the forefront and have Furiosa interact with, you know, like the bullet farm and what's the other one?
Gastown.
I was going to say gas station, but now I'm like, they thought of something.
The gas station.
They go to 7-Eleven. Yeah, we see them interact with them. Some characters from Fury Road come back, some completely new ones that are there. Yeah, literally go up to the point where it's right when Fury Road starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the origin story for the Furiosa character. Because what's interesting about Mad Max Fury Road is that Furiosa is the main character of that movie, too. Max is just kind of along for the ride. And that's kind of a bit what Furiosa is for a lot of this movie. She is serving as Max in this film, where the events are happening kind of without her, largely. And she is on her own, like, personal quest for revenge and also to try to get back to her home. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think the world building is really good. If you haven't seen the first three, this might not make a lot of sense to you, but like, there's a lot of elements that you can see in the world building of this film that are like very clear callbacks to some of like the worlds that he was trying to craft in the earlier movies, but he clearly just didn't have the budget to it. In Road Warrior, there's like an entire civilization that's built around like an oil. What the fuck are they called? The things that extract the oil out of the ground.
Yeah, like an oil rig.
Yeah, it's just an oil rig in the desert. Yeah. And in this one, they have Gasoline Town, which is just a way bigger version of what we get in Road Warrior. And then, yeah, in the Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, they have the entire city that's built from pig shit. And then in this one, they're trying to, you know, do something similar where they have the city that has all the water. They have the city that makes the bullets, and then they have the city that makes the gas. So it's like this whole like ecosystem that they're trying to build through everything. Yeah. That's really cool. The unfortunate thing is that like every single time that we get into the world building stuff, it pulls away from the personal story. Yeah, there's a little bit of like they're kind of wrestling with each other a little bit in this movie, like the Furiosa stuff versus like all of the cool car chases and Mad Max stuff. It doesn't fit perfectly in the way that Fury Road fits absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and that's why it took 2.5 hours to tell this story, because they were expanding the world so much and honestly like trying to tell us more about Furiosa than they ever have with the Mad Max character.
Yeah.
Mad Max is just a silent traveler, and Furiosa is too, but now we know everything about her. Whereas Mad Max, I've seen 4 movies where he's the protagonist, and I don't know as much about him.
And you're really not supposed to know much about him. I mean, obviously, the first Mad Max movie is an origin story for Max, and it's not important to watch the first movie at all to understand the rest of the franchise.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. The first one is very, very interesting movie. Go back and check out our podcast that we did last week on that. It's pretty interesting.
It's down in the doobly-doo.
Yeah, it's it's down there.
They did want to spend a lot of time fleshing out this character to the extent that, so Furiosa, like, she's famously played by Charlize Theron and Anya Taylor-Joy, but she's also portrayed by like a child actor in this movie. And I timed it for the first 50 minutes. Anya Taylor-Joy is not Furiosa yet.
Yeah, I was wondering if like that was gonna be like the twist of the film or something. I was like, is Anya Taylor-Joy gonna be in like the last 15 minutes or something?
Yeah.
And that's it.
I'm just so glad they didn't do like an aged down Anya Taylor-Joy or something for the child, and there was just an actual other actress, because I was worried about that.
Yeah.
There'd just be a child with giant eyeballs.
Yeah.
Because Anya Taylor-Joy has big anime eyeballs.
Yeah. What do we think of her performance?
The child?
Let's go through each Furiosa.
Each the
So,
generation.
Charlize Theron, great Furiosa. I think we all
Flawless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the kid, how was she?
I think she was fine. I mean, she, again, doesn't have many lines. The lines she did say, she delivered well. But yeah, it's mostly just, she's a child in a wasteland world. So you mostly just see her reaction to stuff around her. But I think she did great.
Though, I guess this is definitely spoiler territory here. She has an opportunity to get away earlier in the film, and she does not take it. She fucks up. She could have gone back to the green place. She chooses that's her mom, right? The character.
Yeah.
Is that's like the whole first 20 minutes of the movie is just her mom trying to rescue her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As mothers do.
I did like that sequence.
That whole sequence, I was like, this is going on for a long time.
It really did go on for a long time. There were a lot of scenes, not just that scene, where it would be like someone would drive forward like 100 feet, get off their bike, run back, look on the hill, and be like, oh crap, they're coming. Run back to their bike, drive another 100 feet, jump off. And be like, oh, they're still coming.
This is one of the side effects of when you have a director that's like also the producer.
Yeah.
And it's very clear George Miller is just saying, we're leaving everything in this movie. We're not cutting any of these scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of about it. I mean, I felt like it was too long, but in the moment, I was never like upset that they kept getting off their
Could have
bikes.
easily been 2 hours.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But to your point, Dylan, when she goes back as a child, so her mother tells her to like get to higher ground, don't come back for me, get back home, and she doesn't. She goes back when she sees that her mother gets captured, and that ruins the rest of her life. But I think that is really integral to the Furiosa character, because she's someone who is the type of hero that always goes back to save the person. So she goes back later in the movie to save her father figure boyfriend, the like Imperator Bob or whatever his name was. The
Father figure boyfriend?
Yeah.
Wait, what did you just say?
I'm sure I think it was Jack.
Jack, yeah. Imperator Jack. He's like the original Furiosa. Like Furiosa has this role by Fury Road where she goes out on the driving missions. Well, there was a guy before her, and then he takes her under his wing. But then at one point, she has an opportunity to escape the life that she's stuck in, but she goes back to rescue him. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the movie, she can also leave because she stole a car and she got her revenge. I guess we're spoiling the movie. But she chooses to go back.
The episode's going to be called Spoilers.
I would also say, like, even in Fury Road, though, right? Like, she has the opportunity to just, like, probably get on a bike and leave, like, at any time relatively easily, but she decides to go back and bring all the mothers with her, So, like, it's already been an established character trope that she will always try to save people that need saving,
Mm-hmm. And then it finally pays off in Fury Road because they make this choice in the third act where they're going to go back for good, and that's what leads them to go back to the Citadel. So for the first time in her life, going back pays off and saves everyone.
Oh. she was always driving back on their path the whole time. Yeah, yeah.
The real green place was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that is kind of what Mad Max Fury Road says. They're like, the green place doesn't exist anymore, but if we just go back over there, and that's the green place.
The moral of the story is don't leave him. You can fix him.
So there's a bit of a big prequel problem here where as soon as I saw that Jack character, I was like, that guy's so fucking dead.
Yeah.
That is as dead as any character has ever been in a movie when I saw him.
Yeah.
Rip. Yeah.
I guess it's the same about Dementis, too. I was like, he's not another movie. Or like, he's being like, oh, I guess Joe's going to live. Yeah. I guess that's just sort of how it goes.
But I mean, that's a trope in Mad Max movies in general, is that they kill off the villains at the end of it, usually by ramming a vehicle into them. That tends to be the most common.
I will say this probably had like the coolest villain kill. She didn't technically kill him. She planted a tree and
she turned him into a tree.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good for the fruit, like to have like all those flies and maggots around like all the time.
High protein, maybe.
Yeah. I guess beggars can't be choosers when you're in the wasteland.
Yeah.
And when you want your vengeance.
Better than nothing. I guess we could talk about Hemsworth here. Chris Hemsworth plays Dementis.
I really liked him. I thought he did a great job. I couldn't stop staring at the nose, though, but in a good way.
Yeah,
like I was into it.
Weird prosthetic nose.
Yeah, it didn't look bad, but it's just like I know what you look like.
I did keep trying to like see where the prosthetic started, but nope. Makeup artists are better than me.
It is cool
the
to
VFX
see
team is better than
than my eyes.
It's cool to see him in a movie where he's like very Australian.
Yeah,
which we don't usually get to see, like when he's doing his like.
Is he normally? Normally, is he Australian?
He's like Australian.
Yeah, he's Australian.
Yeah, the Hemsworth brothers.
Yeah.
He's like really laying on the accent.
Yeah,
thick in this one.
I don't know if this was also an obvious thing too, but it was nice at the beginning of the movie where they zoomed into Australia, and I'm like, that's where we are. Like, it's like, oh, that makes sense, but I was just like, the whole world's desert. When I saw the first ones, I didn't specifically be like, we're in Australia.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's the desert of like California or something.
Yeah.
If you saw the first Mad Max, you would know it's Australia because they talk a lot more in that one, and they're all Australian.
Yeah.
And apparently they dress. I thought they were dressing like weird apocalyptic cops, but that's just
what Australians. That's
true.
This is not a period piece. This is just what they dress like in Australia.
Yeah, when you reach manhood in Australia, you're given your leather jacket, and your leather pants.
Yes.
What were we talking about?
Chris
Hemsworth. Yeah. So I saw this tweet. So apparently every actor from Fury Road and Furiosa, all the main ones, have like horrible PTSD from working on these films.
Yeah.
Like Charlize Theron said that it felt like going to war every day. She and Tom Hardy hated each other. Tom Hardy said he didn't understand what George Miller was going for while they were shooting, and he felt lost and confused the whole time. And Anya Taylor-Joy, when asked about her experience, just said, I don't want to talk about it, and stared off in the distance. So I saw this tweet that basically summarized those things, and then it said, Chris Hemsworth just says, "Oh, I had a great time, mate. I got to be in a movie."
Well, you got to imagine like him as like a young Australian actor, like probably like being in Mad Max was like the pinnacle.
Oh,
like those.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That's true.
It must just be like filming out in the middle of the desert just sucks, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, the one thing I will say, this movie definitely felt much more green screeny than Fury Road did. There was obviously definitely a lot they shot out there, but I at least felt it more than I did with Fury Road.
I agree with that, but they were also going to a lot more locations.
Yeah, because it was less, because before a lot really happens in just the war rig and everything in Fury Road, or just outside of it, parked in a nondescript spot so they can do a lot. But a lot of the fight scenes too really felt less practical in the way that Fury Road at least made you believe that it was, even when it wasn't 100%. Because I know they're doing some little stuff in there.
The other thing I liked about Hemsworth is that he's really hamming it up. This movie, like tonally, you could go in a couple different directions with it. You can make this like really serious because Furiosa's going through some shit in this movie, and she's suffering a lot of loss and trauma. But then you have like Hemsworth, and he's just like a silly boy every single time he's on screen. He's supposed to be this like evil guy that you're supposed to hate, but it's kind of hard because he's hamming it up so much.
Yeah.
He's like the comic relief character as well as the villain.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I think the silliness was a nice to have the comedic relief in the villain is something that like I can't think of another movie that really does that the same way that this movie does, and it was very refreshing to see.
Yeah. Did you ever see The Bad Time at the El Royale or whatever it's called?
The hotel one where they like have that big standoff at the end in like the lounge area.
It's Chris Hemsworth, right? It's not his brother.
He's one of the villains in that too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's doing the same thing there, except he's American in that.
Yeah,
but
so it wasn't as funny.
Well, that is, like, whenever we talk about Taika Waititi films, we always say that the accents make the movies a lot funnier, which is good because he's a comedian, or he does comedy movies. For this one, I will say, like, you're doing, like, 2.5 hours of, like, some pretty brutal, like, movie making and storytelling, so it was really necessary to have that levity. With Fury Road, because it's such a tight movie, there's not a lot of humor. There's a little bit, but this one they added the right amount, I think.
Yeah. I think the tone of the movie is very well done. I think it's serious when it wants to be serious. It's fun when it wants to be fun.
Yeah, and then we rated 2 of the 3 Furiosas on their acting, but how do we actually feel about Anya Taylor-Joy's performance?
I think she did pretty good, all things considered. I think it was a tall order to go up against Charlize's performance from Fury Road, but I think she did a pretty good job. There was the one point towards the end where they start to act like Charlize Theron is there and now the new Furiosa, but it's sometimes just like the back of Anya Taylor-Joy's head, but it sounds like Charlize's voice. I don't know if I was just making that up.
I just think that she did a good job doing Charlize's voice.
Yeah. I don't know. For a second, it threw me out. But other than that, I think like the performance throughout was really good.
Yeah, I think she does an effective job at matching like the energy and the mannerisms of like the original actress, which is something that's tough because oftentimes when we see this situation, it's something like the Han Solo movie where the original actors they're so old they can't come back and be like a younger version of themselves. Charlize Theron probably could have played the younger version of herself in this movie. Like, I feel like you wouldn't have to age her down that much. I mean, right now she looks pretty similar as she did in Fury Road. I mean, it's possible she had like a terrible time at Fury Road and she's like, I'm not doing.
Well, I guess it's also about the age, because I was trying to figure out how old they're really trying to make once Anya Taylor-Joy is Charlize, like that, like sort of like the core of that, like how old she's supposed to be. I think she's supposed to be like 20 years old. Like
So when they do the hard cut to the end of the movie where she's rescuing the wives and like the convoy, is that supposed to be like a time jump?
Well, the tree grew.
Yeah.
Right? So that has to be at least like 10 years. Maybe not 10 years, but it's like probably like 10 years, right?
So in Mad Max Fury Road, when she gets back to the green place where her family lives, they're like, how long has it been? And she says 7,000 days. So you can count.
Hold on.
It's like 20 years.
You make us do live math on the pod, everybody.
7,000 divided by 365 is 19 years.
Yeah.
And some change. Wait, so it's 19 years since she was taken.
Yeah.
But then there's like a 10-year jump.
Yeah, she was taken when she was, like 10 years old? Something like that?
Yeah, so we'll say...
Yeah, so I think it's like, as a kid, she's 10. As Anya Taylor-Joy, she's 20. And then as Charlize, she's 30.
Even though Anya Taylor-Joy is, what, like 28, 29?
Yeah, but,
She's part of that generation of
welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah. every like young adult actor now is, like, between the ages of 26 and 30.
Yeah, it's the Mean Girls effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Anya Taylor-Joy's performance a lot. I also thought she sounded a lot like Charlize. And then I also noticed it at the exact moment you said, when her back was to camera. I was like, did they dub
I think it was
Charlize
I think it was just like a bad ADR line. It might have been Anya Taylor-Joy reading it, but like I was like, wait a minute, are they trying to? But then she turned around and it was her. I thought they were going to do something and then it was going to be Charlize Theron, but then it wasn't that. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
My only issue with her performance, and this might sound bad, but like she talked too much like later in the movie. I liked her better as a character that was like mute essentially.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think that has to do with the performance. I think that's just the writing of the character. I think they could have pulled it back a little bit, but I don't think it was like she doesn't have a dramatic monologue at any point in the movie or anything.
She has very few lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, like at one point when she's in the war room trying to explain the situation, I think that's the most she ever talked.
Yeah. What if she had more lines and she just kept forgetting them on set?
I mean, I could see it happening. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah. They're just like, we don't have time. We're in the desert. We just got to keep moving.
I don't think I would have minded if she talked a little more, because it's not like Furiosa was a silent protagonist in the original movie. And I just like Anya Taylor-Joy, so I like seeing her performance like through all the spectrum of acting.
Well, it's tough because I feel like she plays it off in Fury Road that a lot of the time she's not talking is mostly when she doesn't trust Max, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like more reserved defensively versus like, I don't talk to anybody. Because we see her talking with the wives and everything else. And I think this time it hits that balance too, where it's like when she's a child and she's like obviously in a very bad spot, she's not talking to many people. But then, as she gets closer to other people around her, like Jack or other people, like that's when she starts to talk more. Mm-hmm. So it's like an interesting thing where it's not necessarily that I feel like her character never talks. It's that she needs to trust people to talk to them.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you just watched Fury Road like right before watching this. So what did you think of the convoy attack sequence compared to what we see in Fury Road? Because they're very similar sequences, right?
Oh, yeah.
But they build like an entire like chrome rig in this movie. It's the most over-the-top like vehicle we've seen in a franchise that's loaded with over-the-top vehicles. It has like backloader arms on it. It's got a spinning drill in the back with flails to like pick things out of the air.
It's pretty nuts. Fury Road pretty much can't be topped. That's like, first of all, it's just one long convoy chase scene that somehow keeps you locked in the whole time. So they're doing tons and tons of different stuff. But I think like the memorable part of that to me was when they were like on those poles that were like kind of like flying around in the first one. And then this one did like, they had their own thing where they just had parachuters that were like hang gliding off the backs of cars. That was their version of that. And I thought that looked really cool too. I did enjoy the sequence a lot. It's also where we got to see Jack in action, and he was kind of my favorite character for like a lot of the movie.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think what I missed most about the action that was in Fury Road, because I just watched Fury Road last night as a refresher, is I liked that the action had its own story beats in it more that you could follow. Like the one thing I think specifically is in Fury Road where the favorite wife gets her leg shot by Max and then she's bleeding out of that leg, and then later on then she is hanging out the car door, and the only reason why she falls is because she slips on the blood that's on her leg. And it's like a story beat goes into the action in a way where you see things constantly getting set up in Fury Road, like the knife in the gear shifter and like all this stuff like that like it is also a great rewatch because it's like, oh, the callbacks, oh my god, it's crazy. And maybe it's just the first time seeing Furiosa, but I feel like there weren't as many story beats connected in with the action. Like it was much more disconnected, and you weren't necessarily seeing like a character go through beats of a story. They were sort of like just like gauntlet fighting waves of enemies, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just kind of just a progression of the fight as it goes. Like, they take out the first group of, like, air units, and then they have a second group of air units.
Yeah. Like, it's almost like they could have... those were, like, two completely separate things. There wasn't necessarily, like, a consequence of what happened from the first attack that then now is a consequence for the second attack. At least not as much that I felt with in Fury Road, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that. But I am also curious if we rewatch.
Yeah, if we just know, because we've had 9 years to sit on Fury Road.
Right.
I'm sure there are stuff in there that I missed because I'm a big dummy, but...
Yeah, there's like a moment where she like fixes the radiator with like a helmet or something, and that was rattling around for a while. That could be like something that you're talking about, but I don't really remember the...
Well, that's just that she had to take her helmet off to hold on to it because it was hot, and that revealed her hair, which then Jack is like, girl.
Yeah, that's
Which is, it does, but it's not like a set up to something in the future that's going to happen, you know, in the same way.
I did like the little guy though that was in charge of the...
Yeah, I do. I'm so confused. It's like, is this going to be a main character? Like, there's so much emphasis on this little guy.
Yeah, because it seemed like he was going to survive the attack, and it was just going to be Jack and Furiosa and that little guy.
Yeah, he's just hanging out with his cabbages.
Those war boys, I mean, they're just cannon fodder.
Yeah.
They just reload. They're like, hey, we got another group.
For Halloween this year, can we all go as war boys?
Yeah.
And one person can be Immortal Joe.
Yeah. We could do that.
No, nobody is Rectus.
You have a whole Halloween party, and literally one person's Joe. Everybody else is a war boy.
Is it an all-dude party?
No. War boy is an inclusive term. Everybody can
definitely.
War ladies.
Well, no, we're making it one. We're changing it right now. War boy can apply to everybody.
You would think that after Furiosa showed up and became Imperator, they would let war girls into the war boys, but I guess not.
No.
It's a hard glass ceiling to break.
Yeah.
So if Fury Road has like 10 out of 10 vehicular action, is this movie like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10? Like how much is the drop from like what we saw in Fury Road, you think, when it came to the action sequences? Because let's not like get it twisted here. Like the action sequences are what make this franchise.
Yeah.
Mad Max to vehicular action is like what John Wick is to like gunfire action, right? Like that's what you're going to the movies for. Well, actually, maybe not, but we'll get to that in a second. But like, how much of a drop do you think it is from Fury Road?
I think the choreography was still really tight, and I think the like vision of it was crystal clear. I'm not like a big car chase guy. They're oftentimes my least favorite part of a given action movie. Yeah. I think they're like spectacle by way of obfuscation, where it's just like you can do this action sequence and everything will be loud and there will be a lot of cuts and the audience will fill in the gaps in their minds. But what George Miller does is like every cut feels really deliberate. Everything that's choreographed feels really tight. All the stunts are really great.
He's also doing a lot of it in camera.
Yeah.
And like sometimes injuring stunt people in the process.
Yeah. It's not that big a drop off for me. The only thing I will say is I agree with like what you were saying earlier, that there's a little bit less story driven action in this one.
Yeah.
But I think all the technical work is just as proficient as the first one.
So Fury Road's 10 out of 10. What's Furiosa at?
I'll give it an 8.5.
Oh, okay. I was going to probably bring it down to like a 6. Yeah, personally.
Because I think, the action in this franchise, like if he's going to do another one, because I think he wants to do another one, right? I think there's a very high floor to his action sequences. Yeah. Like even a quote unquote like bad version of like this type of stuff it's just way better than anybody else is going to do it.
I think there was definitely less of an emphasis on the action in this movie.
Yeah, it's much more story driven.
It's much more story driven. I mean, even the way that's broken into the 5 acts, it sort of felt like almost like Shakespearean.
Well, that's what the one movie that came to mind when I was watching this was The Northman, Which, have you seen The Northman?
No.
Which the North.
I would never.
The Northman is it's directed by Robert Eggers. It's basically Norse Hamlet.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly violent, and it's a very similar story where it's just a kid that everything goes south when he's a kid. He has to like leave his home world. Then he becomes Alexander Skarsgård, and he's ripped as fuck, and then he goes back and he enacts revenge.
Yeah,
It's like Lion King.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this movie just a Lion King?
Oh my god! Wait, you're telling me Shakespeare ripped off Lion King?
Hakuna Matata.
That
Jack, Timon, and Pumbaa.
but that movie is also broken into
my God.
5 acts, I think, or something like that are like titled as like going through the movie, and like it reminded me of that exactly. I was like, he's going for like something Shakespearean.
Yeah, the 5-act structure. Yeah, a classic, a throwback.
Is it? You took more screenwriting classes than us, so is
I don't know. I just say things, Jason. No, it's some structure that I'm sure does something.
Yeah.
It probably follows the hero's journey as everything does.
yeah. There's the call to action
Yeah.
and the other parts
And then the return.
and the return. Yeah.
That's all the parts of the hero's journey.
Yeah, when people tune into a movie podcast, this is the level of analysis
This is
they
the
expect.
gripping expertise they're looking for.
The most jarring part of like my theater going experience yesterday was like there was like 7 people in the theater in the middle of the day on opening day. How many people were in the? Because you guys saw
that
them on
many.
Saturday night.
7,
No, maybe like 15.
12.
Yeah.
So this
it wasn't
movie
that
is
many.
tracking to do like it's 30 million.
I don't know
something
why.
like
It's bombing.
that. What's going on?
I don't know.
Well, it's yeah, I saw a tweet about this too. Someone was like, "Why is this bombing?" And someone was like, "Pretend you don't know what this movie is." And I just told you it's a prequel. None of the same actors are coming back, and it's 2.5 hours long.
That's true. Do
And-
people look at the runtimes though when they really consider?
I think people do now. Like,
Sequels and prequels usually they'll tend to do better box office than the original because you've got that hype from the first one.
I guess it is true though that the no returning cast might really be hurting it more.
people going like, "Oh man, we're not getting Tom Hardy's Max back."
well,
I liked him.
Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron are a little bit more A-list than Anya Taylor-Joy. She's very much still like a film
They'll
buff
be like, oh,
darling.
the chess girl.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't think the like fans of the Queen's Gambit is the same demographic as Mad Max Fury Road.
Though Anya Taylor-Joy has been in both of the big sand-based movies this year already because she was in Dune 2 for a cup of coffee.
That poor one.
And the second one is that. Got it. I thought there was a third Sand movie. I was like, what am I missing?
Now this is a very tough year of movies for Anakin Skywalker. He's not having a good time.
Yeah,
A
you
lot of
did
sand.
say you asked earlier if just filming in the desert is a miserable experience, and we kind of said yes, but like the Dune cast does not complain as much as the people who work on the Mad Max Fury Road movies complain. So I don't know if it can all be chalked up to just the desert.
They're doing a lot more drugs.
That's true.
And Josh Brolin was writing them all poems.
Yeah.
On set.
And I don't see a worm in Mad Max.
No, that would have made this movie even more awesome.
Yo, if out of nowhere the Shai Halud just popped up. And,
Yeah, that'd be the ultimate plot twist.
Yeah.
A fucking worm comes out and takes out one of the vehicles.
I'm just saying, more people would be in the theater if this was a crossover with Dune. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
But this is a very, very bad look for the box office that this movie is bombing the way. This was your number one anticipated movie of the year, right?
Yeah, and I don't think I was wrong for that. I think this movie was dope and fun, and definitely like there's a reason why it's like one of the movies that you saw in theaters this year, and one of the few movies that you saw in theaters is because you know you're gonna get like the bang for your buck with this movie. It's gonna be a lot of spectacle. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It's very unfortunate that it's bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty decent chance that if this movie does poorly to this level, that he doesn't get to do another one. I mean, George Miller's in his 80s, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty old. The first Mad Max came out in 1977. Yeah,
When did Happy Feet come out?
like 2009,
When did Babe Pig in the City come out?
like 1999.
George Miller was 60 years old when he made Happy Feet.
I don't know. We'll look that up. But Australians, they age differently, so they creatively peak in their 60s.
Yeah, it's the leather jackets.
Yeah.
Keeps them warm.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance if this movie bombs hard enough that like movie theaters are going to shut down over the next
So
5
go see it.
Go see it.
Yeah.
Go see anything this weekend.
Yeah, because Deadpool Wolverine's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is anything else going to make a lot of money this year? Like, we just don't.
Well, luckily, Dune easily made its money back, right? Dune did well.
Yeah.
I was looking at box office charts on Twitter today, and it was comparing this year's domestic box office to Ant-Man Quantumania.
Oh, no.
And Dune is the only movie that has made more to the domestic box, and it barely made more than Ant-Man Quantumania.
That wasn't even a good movie.
Yeah, it's tough, very, very tough.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, "Oh, no more Marvel movies." Like, Marvel is the only thing that people come to.
And whose fault is that?
And Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes apparently is doing fairly well right now.
Okay, we're gonna go on a tangent here. Who is that movie for? Who is watching Planet
a lot
of
of
the
ape heads.
I don't understand. I'm like, who is
That first
watching
trilogy,
these movies?
or I guess that second trilogy, was very successful.
A lot of Dr. Zaius fans.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
We watched the first Planet of the Apes and we liked it a lot.
The movie's a fucking trip.
Yeah,
I was reading the synopsis to the second Planet of the Apes movie because Charlton Heston didn't want to come back for the sequel. So apparently, the first scene of the second movie is just, another astronaut shows up.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Not that the movies are bad. It's nothing about the quality of the movies. I'm just like, I don't understand who their demographic they're targeting is at all.
No, you're right that on paper, a big budget CGI movie franchise built around an ape civilization.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild.
It's insane.
And it's interesting because, I don't think anyone in our friend group cares about those movies.
Evan loves,
really?
Yeah.
Shout out,
I
Evan.
saw the final movie to the first trilogy, the James Franco trilogy. Is that what they're calling it? That one, I saw the last movie. I saw the last movie in theaters and none of the other movies.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, the ending was 30 minutes long and super long and dramatic, but that's because they were ending a trilogy of movies. But to me, I was like, why are they spending so long at the ending of this one movie? But it was good.
Yeah, it's a tough sell, and this is a tough year for the box office. I'm sure they thought Kong versus Godzilla 2 or Kong X Godzilla or whatever it's called would do well. I don't think that did.
Did that come out?
And I also don't think that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to crack $1 billion. I think Marvel's really hoping it will, but...
I mean, my hot take is that, and I don't know if this is just me getting old. I turned 32 this week.
Happy birthday, Dylan!
Birthday! We can cut that.
We can't cut it. Happy birthday!
I'm not remotely interested in Deadpool and Wolverine, if I'm being perfectly honest. I didn't like the first Deadpool movie that much, and I didn't like the second one that much either. I think Ryan Reynolds is I don't find his shtick funny anymore with the Deadpool character, and the fact this is the only Marvel thing coming out this year is rough. It's a very, very rough look.
I've only seen the first Deadpool, and I thought it was fine, but I wasn't super encapsulated by it. I do think the movie's going to hit $1 billion because I think a lot more people are super dedicated to Deadpool because it has 2 movies that were consistent for that fan base. And now you're bringing in Hugh Jackman.
You're bringing
as
Hugh Jackman.
Wolverine back in.
He looks... Did you get that preview thing where he tells you to turn off your cell phone in the theater?
Yeah.
He looks so old.
Yeah.
I mean, he is.
As his God-given right is to look old.
He looks old and he's on steroids.
Well, he just got divorced, too.
Yeah,
so.
and he just turned, 32?
Hugh Jackman, also Australian, to bring it back around here.
Oh, my God. If Shai Hulud and Wolverine came out of the sand, Furiosa, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, what they're missing in this movie was a Mel Gibson cameo.
Oh, no, we don't want that.
Where he just shows up and he's like, where are the Jews? No Jews in this movie.
No, we do not want that. Absolutely not. I will take old Hugh Jackman and Shai Hulud over Mel Gibson any day.
Yeah, I was curious if Mel Gibson was recast because of his controversies or just because he was too old. It was just because he was too old. He got invited to the Fury Road premiere, and he's still best friends with George Miller.
Oh yeah,
hurts. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, box office this year is looking bad. You should support your local movie theaters.
Get AMC A-list.
Yeah, or just watch it at home.
Shut up, Dan.
Well, that's the other piece to this is that movies in theaters are on digital, like 2-3 weeks
fast,
usually after they come out. So unless it's something like Furiosa where like the action is so like invigorating that you want to see it on the biggest screen that you can, just like watch it.
Yeah. My hot take is always that if you need to see a movie in the theaters, then it's not a good movie.
That's interesting.
I don't agree.
I mean,
Not to say that seeing a movie in theaters makes it a better experience, because I think that's true. But there have been times where, when I was going to watch Oppenheimer last year, everyone was like, you got to see it in theaters. It's not going to be good at home. And I'm like, then it's not a good movie.
I think Oppenheimer is probably good at home. I haven't watched it again. I will say that there are, like, the Transformers franchise, I imagine, is quite bad at home.
Yeah.
So
we have Transformers at home. Transformers at home.
But I think with that franchise and that one alone, you're right. Those movies tricked me into thinking they were good when I saw the first one in theaters.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's good.
Yeah, it's just big metal ghost scrape.
Oh, I thought you said Big Metal Ghost. And I was like, do you know what a Transformer is?
Yeah, it's a ghost in a car's body.
That's a good movie.
Write it down. Yeah. I do think Furiosa will also be good at home.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. But also see it in the theaters to support.
This is like a conversation for like a whole other pod we could probably do of like, how do you save movie theaters? Like, clearly, like, they're suffering pretty hard, like, post-pandemic here. And, like, the theater going experience is so inconsistent. Like there's like 7 people in my theater, and 3 of the people were sitting, like, behind me to the right. It was a guy and 2 women. And the guy clearly was putting on some sort of fucking stand-up comedy set to try to impress these women, because he would not shut the fuck up, like, cracking jokes the entire movie.
Funny?
No, he was not funny. And he was, like, yelling at the screen, and, like, the women were, like, giggling, like, and I'm like,
I think he was killing.
well, that's what I was worried about. I wasn't going to tell him to shut the fuck up, because, like, I don't know what he's
You
packing.
become the heckler in this situation.
Yeah, I become the bad guy for telling him to shut up.
Yeah. You're Dementus.
I think the takeaway from that is that guy showed up with women and we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the takeaway.
Well, you're the one that refuses to go to Challenger screenings where you see two people sitting next to each other and you just buy the third seat.
I have enough friends that are couples. Do you and Melissa want to go see Challengers with me?
Is it still in
This
theaters?
isn't for anything weird.
Nah, nothing weird at all.
No. I think that is a movie I will see at home.
So I come over?
It's the implication.
Yeah.
I do love that movie, and I would watch it if we had a lot of friends together, not 3 people.
But we just happened to sit in groups of 3.
Well, they were doing a buy 2 get 1 free basically for Challenger screenings last week.
That's cute.
It's a good bit.
It's adorable.
For you and your throuple.
My cousin lives in Australia now, and his mom's visiting, and he asked me, should I see Furiosa or Challengers? What would you guys recommend? And I know neither of you has seen Challengers.
Furiosa.
I would say Furiosa. I mean, if you live in Australia,
you should see Furiosa. Yeah. So
is Challengers in Australia?
It's never in Australia. No.
Oh, then why? Oh, just because those are the 2 that are out right now?
Yeah,
there's no part of the movie that takes place in the Australian Open.
Isn't
there
what
of the 4
else?
tennis majors?
What else is out right now?
Garfield.
Oh, that's why there's no one in Furiosa.
No, that's the depressing headline that you'll see like on Twitter right now.
That's
is like
better.
Furiosa and Garfield neck and neck at the domestic box office. This is the Chris Pratt Garfield,
Okay,
right?
so Shai Hulud, Wolverine, and Garfield come out of the same better. We just got to expand this universe.
Yeah.
We got to see the MMCU, Mad Max Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that is what they're trying to build. I'm curious if the next Mad Max will tie into the Fury Road saga.
Are they really building to that? I guess it's hard because this is like the prequel to Fury Road. I guess if they made another movie that is completely unattached to any of the other characters, other than maybe like
would the next one just be Tom Hardy again, like doing a Mad Max thing?
Yeah.
Does he go over the salt?
Yeah, I would imagine he goes.
And he's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have told him to turn around. I found people."
Now, I could see him like flying over because in the first 3 Mad Max films,
He swims to New Zealand.
it'd be so funny.
Directed by Taika Waititi.
Oh no! If he swam to New Zealand and everything was just fine over there, and it was the big twist was that only
Only Australia.
They're like, yeah, we're doing great. We have universal healthcare.
yeah.
It won't matter though because that movie's not getting made.
Yeah, I don't like $30 million is not like it's not even like a good box office return.
What
for
was,
like a
what was the budget?
175, 180 million. I think.
Yeah.
It's over. Sorry, George.
Happy Feet 2 on the way.
I thought there was a Happy Feet too.
Probably. Maybe it was a direct to DVD.
Maybe I don't know. I could be.
What does he do? Forget how to dance again?
George Miller. He reaches into his desk drawer.
Yeah.
It's like a copy of like the script for Happy Feet 2, and right next to it is a handgun.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, he just hasn't been doing the one for them, one for me role for the last decade. Mad Max Fury Road was such a hit that he was able to make 2 flops back to back.
Yeah, it was the one for us.
Yeah, the one for us.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys see 3,000 Years of Longing? The last movie he did came out in like 2020.
Absolutely not.
No one saw it. It looked sick as hell, but I didn't really know what it was
What's
about.
the premise?
I don't know. There's a genie.
Oh, it's Aladdin. Oh, got it.
It's Aladdin.
Got it.
Every movie with a genie is just Aladdin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's Will Smith. Right?
Furiosa is Lion King, and this is Aladdin.
Yeah.
This
He's just ripping off Disney.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
so uncreative.
Yeah.
George Miller, famous.
Happy Feet's just surfs up. Crazy.
Forgot those were different movies. Forgot there was another animated penguin movie. Why
Same
was there
year?
2?
I don't
Twin
think so.
Peaks?
Twin Peaks? Yeah.
Guys, check out the podcast that Dan and I are starting.
Is it only penguin-based movies?
Oh, absolutely. It's called A Flipper in a Dream. I don't know.
Dan, you do improv.
Yeah.
One of your games is the pun game.
Yeah, it is.
Where if it's a bad pun, you get pied in the face.
Yeah, we don't have any pies.
Quiz.
The Podquins. I think you're getting a pie in the face, too. And I'm not going to attempt.
All right.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
What was did you give a letterbox rating for this yet?
Not yet. This podcast is my letterboxd rating.
And how many stars you giving?
I'm going to give it, I don't know. I always kind of rate really high coming out of a movie because I just like going to movies. But I'm going to give it 4.5. It's a half-star down from Fury Road. But I don't know. I'll see how I feel like tomorrow if I'm still thinking about this movie, you know?
Yeah. I think for me, I'm probably sitting at a 3. Okay. I think it's right down the middle.
I'm going to pull up Dan's other letterboxd reviews to compare what else.
I think Fury Road I have as 5 stars. For sure.
Yeah, I think I put it at a 4 when I got out yesterday, and though that'll probably fall down to like 3.5 eventually.
Yeah. But I think I'm the opposite of you. I think coming out of a movie, if I'm not super into it, I always sort of like sit it at a 3, and then if I watch it a second time, I sometimes like bump it up a little.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it comes up to a 3.5.
Yeah,
at some point.
This is also a movie that like I don't know if I'm going to rewatch this anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not super drawn to it. Maybe I will with Melissa at some point if she wants to see it.
It would be a very interesting back-to-back watch between this and Fury Road. Like if you just watch them one after the other.
But you would watch Furiosa first.
That's
right?
the question.
You got it. Well, you got to end with a better movie.
Yeah, so if you were to recommend these movies to someone who hasn't seen either, what order would you tell them to watch it in?
Tell them just to watch Fury Road. And then if they like really liked it and they want to know more, then to watch Furiosa, because it's a tight 2 hours. 2 hours exactly. Oh,
so hot.
Beautiful. Yeah. If they got it down to 159, it would be euphoric.
Yeah, Fury Road is good. So you gave this movie a 3. So for comparison, here's some other movies that you very
you're
putting
recently
me on blast
you
right now.
very recently gave a 3. So you think these movies
3? No, I gave Oppenheimer more than
these movies are as good as Furiosa.
Okay.
You gave Mean Girls the musical a 3. Do you think these two movies are equal in quality?
No. Mean Girls the musical should definitely be at like a 2.5.
Is this just your thing? Like you just go with 3 and you're like, oh,
Honestly, sometimes I do.
You gave Five Nights at Freddy's a 3.
And I stand by that. Yeah. Honestly, Five Nights at Freddy might go up to a 3.5.
You gave Zoe 102 a 3.
Yeah, 100%.
I think this movie is...
I think Zoe 102 and Furiosa are equal movies.
Renfield? God, that movie's...
What is that? Did I give that a 3?
You gave it a 3?
No, that's like a 2. No, that one's down to like a 2. That was a generous, like, I don't want to be.
I rated that low. I rated that a 3.
Yeah. Any other 3s I got sitting in there?
Well, some of them I agree with, so I'm not going to bring them up.
Oh, so you're only going to bring up something that can put me on blast. Okay, good.
This is like when your girlfriend goes through your phone.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, what messages do I have in there?
Yeah, that's the one who told me to get a letterbox, so it's his fault that I'm doing this.
That's true.
It looks like you gave every MCU Spider-Man a 3. Do you think those are as good as Furiosa?
Yes.
You gave The Lighthouse a 3?
I did it. And I stand by it, damn it.
Okay. You only gave Detective Pikachu 2.5.
Yeah, and I stand by that as well. Other than the movies that I watched like early this year.
So anything sub 3 is like a scathing review from you.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You gave Crimes of Grindelwald a 3. Do you stand by that?
Is that the second? Is that the second one?
I don't know.
Is that the second Fantastic Beast one? Bring it down. Based on just that, yeah.
Those movies are so...
I just remember the second one of that movie where they're like doing something important, and then they spend like freaking 20 minutes going to a flashback that is not related
at all. One.
And I'm like, why are you doing this? Yeah,
it sucks.
That'll definitely come back.
The third one's called Lies of Dumbledore, I think.
Oh yeah,
The Lies of Dumbledore.
Yeah, it's
or something.
The Secrets of Dumbledore. No, it's Secrets.
Yeah, I don't think it's
lies.
No,
I'll take your word for it.
The big stinky lies of Dumbledore.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dan doesn't have it logged on his letterbox, so we'll never know what the name is. You gave Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again a 3.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen that one.
They fixed the color correction from the first one.
Yeah, and the rest I agree with. It's really the ones up top here where I'm like,
okay, well, those are relatively new.
Yeah.
Yeah, so putting me on blast, an absolute fail.
I don't know.
I came out looking flawless.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's is a good, scary movie for kids.
Oh my God. Zoe wanted... Never mind.
I'm just saying, you have a little 5-year-old, but you want to put on a scary movie. You're like, I wish a movie like this existed. Five Nights at Freddy's is there. Josh Hutcherson comes back stronger than ever. Matthew Lillard... Finally, he's so excited to be in a franchise again, and you're going to shoot that down.
All right. Good job.
Yeah.
Freddy's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dylan, do you want me to do the same thing for you? You gave it a 4, so it's kind of not as fun.
So Furiosa.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about
one of the movies of all time. I think it's good. It's a good little flick. I am absolutely baffled that it's doing as bad as it is at the box office right now. I think it might be more of an indication of the box office than it does this film's quality.
Yeah, I think the fans of Fury Road, if you liked Fury Road, you should definitely go see it. Just seeing the context in the world again, is just so much fun.
It also gets to the idea of the Marvel actors, like how much of a box office draw they are when they're taken out of the MCU.
Yeah,
and they can Hemsworth sell a movie just with him being in it?
I honestly think them putting that prosthetic nose on him might have actually hurt a lot, because people aren't necessarily always reading when they look at things. But if they saw and recognized his face, I think more people would be going.
I don't know. He is shirtless in a lot of the movie.
That's true.
Yeah, I think Hemsworth, though, has always been one of the lower draw MCU actors, in terms of post-MCU career.
If they got Robert Downey Jr. to play Dementus...
That would have been, yeah. I mean, Hemsworth did great, and he has a physicality that Robert Downey Jr. doesn't.
Yeah.
But Robert Downey Jr. as, a villain in this world would be really cool.
Mm.
Or Mel Gibson would be.
He's already the villain in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Yeah. They should get Hugh Jackman as the villain of the next one. It'd be great.
As Wolverine.
Yeah, only if he's a Wolverine.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to play any other roles.
Deadpool shows up. Tie it into the MCU. That's the only way to get butts in seats.
The only way to save any movie is to tie it into the MCU.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Anything else about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga?
Why did he name his sons Scrotus and Rectus?
I don't He was a weird guy. Was Scrotus in Fury Road? I know Galactus was.
I don't think as that. Wait, the brothers, because there's the dummy thick brother.
Yeah.
That's in Fury Road, and then Scrotus was the other one. I don't think Scrotus was in it.
Yeah, so I thought Scrotus was going to die in this for that reason, but he didn't.
Yeah, he died during the tree time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like it's also funny at the end looking at the credits and seeing the names of all of the characters that are there. Like a lot of the names that aren't even said, they're very funny.
They are funny.
Yeah.
Like we watched the first 3 with subtitles on, and you could see like the names of like random ass characters. The best is the gay boy berserkers and Mad Max Road Warrior.
Yeah. About that.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
No, that's Furiosa. Go see it in theaters. I think it's worth a watch in theaters.
We gave it 3, 4, and 4.5 stars, which is pretty good.
Yeah, if you average that, that's like
3 points.
3.7, maybe like 3.8, 8. I don't know.
Yeah,
Leans up. Do the math at home. We already did math on this podcast.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Dan, thanks for being here. Do you have anything you want to plug?
If you're in Philadelphia, go to SideQuest Theater. I got a show I'm producing called Step Right Up, beginning of every month sometimes on Saturdays. It's an exciting, funny show.
I've seen it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
This is the second time someone's plugged SideQuest on this podcast, so it's big. It's blowing up.
Yeah,
There.
it can't be a coincidence.
Yeah, and then you can find more of us on Twitter, TikTok for now, YouTube, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your pods. Just check us out. You can subscribe to us on Patreon. That would be helpful. It would be really nice. There's some tiers there. I forget what they are, but the main thing is you get episodes early and you can get your names in the credit. So it was a good time. Oh, and join our Discord so you can have these fun conversations with us. But thanks for watching. Go see Furiosa, and we'll see you at the movies.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Until the movies close down.
Yeah. Then Dark Dementus comes out. That was my favorite line in the whole movie, where he's like, "You make me into Dark Dementus."
That's great.
The best bit is when he's got the like the spike that he's like holding to the guy's head, and it's like attached to like his like nipples.
Yeah. Did he rip off his nipple? Did he do that for real? Is he method? Oh my god, no more nipples.
Let's again.